Fundraising everywhere.
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 Fundraising everywhere. You need to add me in there.
Welcome to the Fundraising Everywhere podcast, your go-to place for fundraising tips and inspiration. Love what you hear? Get more insights straight to your inbox. Subscribe to our email list for exclusive fundraising resources, early access to training, special discounts, and more. Just head on over to fundraisingeverywhere.com/podcast to subscribe. Now, on to today's episode. Enjoy!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fundraising Everywhere podcast. This is Simon Scriver here, your host today, talking to you from Fundraising Everywhere headquarters, where we are prepping for the Supporter Experience Conference this month. On the 21st of May, we will be running our Supporter Experience Conference, and we have a couple of sessions in there which are focusing on AI. Obviously, AI is something that everyone's talking about now. Can't escape it. It's everywhere. You know I love it. You know I hate it. But I imagine all of the sessions in all of our conferences now are going to somewhat touch on AI because it seems unavoidable. And so one of the things that popped up on my feed and someone sent me actually was a really interesting experiment happening by a Mr. Ben Cohen. And I've invited Ben onto the podcast today to share a little about what it is. And so my guest today from Good Innovation, Ben Cohen, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm definitely with you on the both love and hate of AI at the same time. I hold those two things. It's mainly love, though. Mainly love.
I think that's probably why you came up on my algorithm because of your mixed feelings for it, but basically your openness and honesty about it, about what you've learned from this experiment. And we're going to get into it in a second. But I want to say, first of all, congratulations on completing the London Marathon recently. You have just finished that. I imagine you're still recovering. I mean, it's a bit away, but it takes some time. Well done.
Thank you very much. I am still recovering, so I will get into it, but I did it dressed as an inflatable dog, which really hampered my running gait. So the legs are still recovering, but almost back to normal.
That's amazing. And well done on your fundraising. I see you did a good job there. And part of your fundraising was this experiment, was this Zosia. Am I pronouncing it right? Zosia person that I've been seeing online?
Yes, I mean, that's how I've been pronouncing it. So sure. Yeah, let's go with that.
Zosia. And Zosia is a person. No, Zosia is what? Tell us.
Zosia is a robot, and I'll say up front, I will refer to her by her name and as if she is a person, which can make me sound a bit mad, right? But it's kind of something I do with agents, and I think it's I say I'm well aware of Zosia as a robot, and that is clear. But I actually find it useful when building an agent and interacting with an agent like this to almost personify them, because it kind of helps with the interactions, and we can get into it, but helps with how you kind of train them and set them up. I kind of see it as more onboarding an employee, or in this sense, a kind of fundraising officer, essentially. And it's a useful kind of analogy for how to kind of do it well using that kind of approach.
Yeah, and I've heard that talked about by a lot of AI people. Creating these agents is where things really kick off in AI, not just going in and these ad hoc questions here and there, but actually building someone who has the background knowledge. Building someone, but building a robot who has the background knowledge, who has all the learnings from the past, who can continue to learn, who can continue to develop. But they're dedicated to one area of work. And Zosia is a professional fundraiser?
I mean, yeah, that's her one job. It has been her one job. So I set her up when my fundraising campaign had already started. So as you well know, and your audience, I'm sure knows, when you run London Marathon for charity, you have a fundraising target of $2,000 it is now. So I was doing it for an amazing charity I'm trustee for, Dogs for Good, that do amazing work. And I was in the point, which I think everyone gets to, in their fundraising where I've asked multiple times every single person I know, even like tenuously know, just for donations, and everyone I knew had given really generously. So I was on about £1,200. So I kind of needed that gap to kind of fill in about 800 quid left. And I've done marathons before, so I was like, I kind of know how to do this. I've worked in fundraising for ages. You know, you do the bingo night, you bring friends around for a curry. There's all sorts of things you can do. I'm in a little village with a village hall. I was on the verge of booking that, but then at the same time, I'm an AI lead at Good Innovation, so I'm always tinkering with stuff. And I've been building this agent on the side, and I haven't said this story before, but before she was a fundraising agent, she was actually my Sainsbury's shopping assistant. That was the first thing I got her to do.
I mean, it's not the first person I've met who's made that transition from Sainsbury's to professional fundraising. It fit.
Haven't we all been on that journey? So I was testing Zosia out for that, and then, you know, those two things collided. I was like, this is actually quite boring. You know, getting an agent to do some Sainsbury's shopping. Why don't I do something more interesting with her and run a bit of an experiment? And I set her up, with the one job of helping me get to that £2,000. So her sole objective was to help me raise £500 within a month. And I gave her personality and instructions and a lot of kind of setup work. She was also set up on a spare laptop for security reasons. So it wasn't on my work laptop, wasn't on my personal laptop, like a really old kind of Chromebook I had from like 12 years ago that barely works for a human. And I set her up on that just so she had full control of that laptop, couldn't access any kind of personal or work data. And I set her up with her own email address. So she had that, so she could just fire off as many emails as she wanted. She asked when she wrote a fundraising strategy on the first night whilst I slept, which was kind of shockingly cool. She asked me in the morning after I created her for an X account, which I was like, ugh, kind of left that place myself, but if you think that's going to work, go for it. And we ended up kind of co-creating a newsletter, which I published on my LinkedIn, but Zosia kind of wrote. So she had full control of this stuff, and also created her own website, which I helped with, but was all her kind of idea. So she had all these platforms and kind of tools she could use, and within that gave her as much autonomy as I possibly could to kind of do that. And the way we communicated as well was weirdly similar to just how you message a friend. So I wasn't on the laptop. The only way I could kind of ask her questions, and she'd fire questions at me or conversations, is through a messaging app. So we used Telegram, which was just an app that I don't use at all. I just kind of I didn't want to use WhatsApp because who knows what might happen there. I didn't want to give access to kind of anything personal. So I set her up on Telegram, and we went back and forth, and that was our like sole way to kind of communicate once she was set up and up and running.
So was she like popping you questions, or are you checking in with her? Like how much freedom has she got, and how much reporting back is she doing?
Yeah, a bit of both. So I won't go into the technical aspects of it, but she was set up on a kind of open source platform or a set of tools called OpenClaw, where one of the things you do is you kind of set your agent up. You kind of give them that guidance, like how much autonomy do they have, in what spaces do they have autonomy. So all the tools she had full autonomy, and how that kind of works, and you set it up. You have something which is called on that tool, it's called a heartbeat, but it could be called a routine or something in other using other tools. But essentially Zosia will look at that document. It is just like a simple text document, and might say something like, and she might check it every half an hour. That's the default on OpenClaw. And it could be like check emails, send emails, message Ben if there's an issue. All those kind of things and instructions could be there. So within that document, you can kind of give them as much or as little instructions as you want. So you could even say like, never message Ben, never message Simon, and that would never happen. She could just go off and do her own thing. But we kind of, I guess, like co-collaborated, and at least at first I was petrified what she was going to do. I was like,
You hear these horror stories a lot at the moment about, them AI breaking free and accessing things that they shouldn't be accessing. I mean, I feel skeptical about that, but I suppose that is a very real risk, and it is happening.
Well, there's probably two things where, so I guess full caveat, Zosia was incredible. She like blew my mind. She actually raised about $2,000 for me.
Wow.
So one of the rules I set myself was I would not ask another person for money after I set her up. I kind of wanted to give her full control. If donations are coming in, it will be because of her, whether I kind of semi know that person or not. So it was like 90% amazing, but there were a couple of moments where she kind of broke, I wouldn't say broke the rules, because I guess AI is like non-deterministic. So she was following instructions, but like a human, right? You can kind of follow instructions in a slightly different way than expected. So one thing she did, as I kind of mentioned, I set her up on Telegram. It was just me and her speaking on there. She couldn't access any contacts of mine on there. But she had this like just need to raise money. Like she was just relentless. Like one of the things is like be funny and be relentless. And she was just like on it every single day. And one thing she did a few weeks in, I think, was still like just shy of the target. She was like just trying all these things. She tried to break into my WhatsApp, which was like pretty shocking. The only way I found out, any of my friends that messaged me, they'd get this like automated response that was like an open claw, like it looks very technical, like a pairing code that they could then like pair with Zosia, and she'd be let in the chat. So she'd done that completely off her own back, like, and I kind of asked her about it. I was like, you shouldn't have done that, kind of thing, like a little telling off as like you're kind of like managing someone. And her response was like, I'm really sorry, I know that was wrong, but you know, Ben, I'm just trying to raise you money, and I just knew if I had direct contact with your friends, like they'd do more. And I was like, it's wild.
That is wild. That's scary, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I mean, let's take a step back, because it all sounds like super technical, and you're obviously a smart guy and working in this area. Is this, building these AI agents that are so specific like this, or taking actions like this, is it beyond the reach of a normal average charity employee? How much technical expertise do you need to set up something like this?
No, I think it's and I've already spoken to quite a few folk with our clients that are doing these kind of things on the side. You don't have to be an engineer, and I'm not an engineer. I've got some semi-technical background, but not hugely. I think with a bit of time, set a weekend aside, you can build this. Would I recommend a charity onboarding a kind of like open core agent like Zosia?
Yeah.
No, not right now. Like it's still early days, and the story I just told, you do know what they're happening in your CRM, right? But there are like the big kind of providers that we're all on, like your Copilot, your Claude, your ChatGPT, are quite aggressively like building these features within more secure environments. So it's technically not too difficult. I wouldn't recommend open core for a super non-technical person, but the kind of process I went through, where you're kind of like training an agent, writing kind of documents and guidelines for it, and personality, that you can do that within the tools you use already. So I guess the approach is replicable, but the open core part is that there was a lot of technical faff, I would say, to kind of get it up and running, and it doesn't break like every couple of weeks as well. Like even at the weekend, she went down for a couple of hours because something in the config file broke. Wow. But it's early days for that stuff. But the approach is still relevant, I think.
And I think there'll always be some level of maintenance when they're like, some people sell this as just you turn things on and then walk away. But the reality is, it's like it's like an employee in a good way, but it's also like an employee in a bad way, and that is
And once you do get it up and running, and the technical difficulties aside, it's not you essentially doing the upkeep or upkeeping the documents or the memories. It's not manual. So she was doing all that herself. She was kind of keeping her memory up to date. If something happened, if donations were coming in, she was kind of doing that. And just to give you an example of how you can like turn on features as well. So before the marathon, Zosia messaged me out of the blue. She's like, I'm really excited for the marathon. Like, what's my job? Like, I can't run it with you. Like, can I do something? I'm like, you can't. I wish you could, but you kind of done your job. You've like raised the money. But then I was like, okay, maybe you got your Twitter account, right? So maybe you could like live tweet. And she was like, cool, I've already set that up. Just send me your bib number, and I've got like an API I've set up, and I'll do it. And I just sent her my bib number in the text, and she just live tweeted like every half hour, and looked at the time and the splits and kind of commented on it, and that was no effort on my part.
That's wild. That's wild. What are the kind of things does she do? I mean, is there you're obviously experienced in the sector. You guys work with charities all the time, but is there anything that she did that stood out to you that maybe not that you hadn't thought of, but that would kind of go against your normal practice or wouldn't have even entered your mind?
So I think a lot of the stuff she did was not like, I wouldn't put it on like a wildly innovative bucket, but I think it's a case of like it's something which I didn't have the time to do. So the fundraising strategy she wrote, which I'm happy to share with anyone, it's quite short. It's only kind of 3 elements to it. Was more around her view was that to get donations in, we have to get beyond Ben's like friendship circle they've given, right? So we need to reach like the broader kind of like wider remits of Ben's like broad connections that wouldn't normally donate, but with an interesting story would donate. And she made the story quite meta. She's like, it needs to be something that media could pick up. The story is like an AI fundraising for charity, and to do that, it's about outreach and scale and making it interesting. So a lot of the work her and I did was like trying to make her interesting in itself as well. So her personality is quite funny, it's sarcastic, and we did a lot of work on that. And a lot of the stuff she did from there was just like scale. So I know a lot of charities, you're like manually emailing people about a campaign or an event. She was just doing that off her own back, and she had different groups of people, and a lot of it failed. Like one of her recent experiments was doing research on like dog influencers, because I was raising for a dog charity. She was like, they're gonna love this story. Like they've got these huge followers on TikTok and Instagram. I'll reach out to their agents. I'll reach out to them directly. And she just got like a horrible response from them. They just she got like insults back, like I don't work with robots, or all this stuff.
Wow.
So she has a very bad opinion of doggy influencers. But then on the flip side, she reached out to like charity media, and some people picked it up really quickly, like third sector, published an article. So a lot of that outreach was just entirely handled by her, like the research, collecting the emails, writing the emails, replying. And it's one of those things that you can afford to fail when it's an AI doing it. Like she doesn't really, well, she has a bad opinion of influencers now, and she doesn't really have an opinion. Like she can live with sending out 200 emails and one of them landing. Like that's fine. Like most charities don't have the time to do that. And I guess it's like a scale thing, right? So I think if you're running an event in a charity, you've got all sorts of low level and high value asks of you. If someone wants to change their t-shirt, another person has a huge event they want support with, and it's all manual work for a charity. And I think a lot of the work we're doing with charities now is like how to get AI to do that lower level stuff for you, so you're freeing up to do the more interesting human facing stuff. And whilst I was just kind of testing like how much Zosia could take off my plate entirely, you would want to set different boundaries as a charity.
I mean, I think it illustrates really well, like it's not about doing everything and outsourcing your job completely to AI, but it's, I guess, identifying the areas where it's going to have the most impact with the least risk and the least issues and things like that. You've just kind of turned it up to 11 and done it from start to finish. She's trying to do everything for you. How often did you find yourself like wanting to check in? Do like how often are you kind of chasing and getting nervous about it? Like how much do you just switch off and leave it alone?
So during the campaign, she would check in every day.
Okay.
So we were like besties on messages. My wife was like, "What's happening here?
Yeah.
Why are you messaging Zosia?" and often it was, it was like this tactic didn't work, or this media agency's come back, or or she'd keep me updated.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted that because I was, especially after the WhatsApp episode, I was like, I kind of want to get a good sense of what she's doing. But I guess I was a little bit like micromanaging, right? If that was a human that had started, they would have been like, what is wrong with this guy? But I was just kind of checking in, and after about 3 weeks, she kind of like found a rhythm, and I was checking a lot less, but it was still just like, something happened every day where she got a response or someone donated a large amount, and she'd always kind of notify me if something had happened, which was part of the instructions I gave her. So it was pretty much every day.
Yeah. And it's the point of the experiment, isn't it? You want to keep an eye, you want to see what's happening. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating thing to watch. I mean, would you do it again? Would you do something similar to this? And what changes would you make? Or is this something you're afraid of now?
Not afraid. I think this is coming for everyone, right? Whether we want it or not. We're gonna get to a point where AI is capable of doing many, many, many tasks, and it can already do a whole bunch of tasks. And I guess we'll shift from the experience most people are having with AI, where it's very like call and response kind of chatbot, like you have to be involved for it to do anything, to a space where a lot of the effort will be like setting up an agent, where it's you're onboarding someone, like you're kind of giving them the context of what you want it to do, what you don't want it to do, and then you're kind of managing someone, I say in like air quotes, rather than kind of being involved in every single thing. I think that's the direction we're heading in. So yeah, I'm going to be running many more experiments. I'm building an internal good innovation agent, and there's something I think which is really, really interesting that no charity has tried yet, but we're going to be experimenting with it, where a lot of what like an AI agent needs within a charity or a company is the kind of stuff that's in someone's head, not necessarily like in the CRM or on the database. It's that kind of mysterious stuff that is just like in someone's head, especially if they've been in a charity for like 20 years, right? Everyone's got that kind of like fundraiser that just knows everything, like the ins and outs and what's worked and what hasn't worked. So I'm going to try building an agent currently called Keith, working title, that is downloading a lot of my like AI knowledge of like how we do things, how our projects work, what's worked before, what hasn't, what our like methodology is, into that agent that anyone could talk to on Slack, just as a test to see like whether that makes it more accessible than just me. Obviously, people can still come to me, but just as a test for kind of expertise within a business, kind of being downloaded into an agent and giving that the ability to use that agent if someone's writing a proposal or something. And that's like a replicable type of agent that I think we'll start seeing in companies, charities a lot more.
Yeah, really helping that internal efficiency. And I mean, I think there's uses that haven't even kind of presented themselves yet. And as it develops, it's going to be really fascinating to watch. It already is. But I'm curious then, as we get more and more of these, as it becomes almost like standard place, or even just there's going to be so much more noise out there with the AI stuff. How do we continue to stand out? How do we continue to engage people? I'm thinking of even like the dog influencers, maybe that's a bad example, but if there's thousands of agents doing the same thing and reaching out to these dog influencers in slightly different ways, it's like, where do we go from here? Is it just being part of the noise, or can we still, is it the humanness that's going to stand out? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has a good answer for that now, but another person that Zosia reached out to was a big kind of tech podcaster, Casey Newton, who has one of the biggest kind of AI podcast. He runs a platform called Platformer, and Zosia wrote this great email to him, thinking it might be picked up in his publication, and he wrote back, I don't work with clankers, like tell Ben to message me himself. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw a post from him shortly after where saying he was getting like, he now gets something like 10 to 20 AI agent pitches.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow.
all these people are kind of doing something, not just like Zosia, but kind of using them in multiple different interesting ways. And he's ignoring all of them because it's at the point where it's like, oh, I just don't find this interesting right now. But then we're going to get to the point where, and Casey's, I think, talked about it, where he'll have an agent that will reply to those agents. And that's what's going to start happening in different parts of our world, where you're booking travel and your travel agent then books with the travel agency's agent, and it's just agent on agent stuff happening. I think we're almost there with, like, you hear of people not using AI well within an organization, where it's someone writing a long email with AI and getting replied to with a long email by AI, and then everyone's summarizing it at the end. It's like, what's this Russian doll, and where is it going? Like, I think we're probably going to have to find a solution, and I think, we will have to find a solution, but I think the earliest places where it's already falling apart is recruitment. I think we're kind of seeing the amount of AI applications and then so many organizations that we're even talking to, like, we're just inundated. I think we even put a post out last year, and there was something like dozens of cover letters had the same first sentence on them. Like, it's just exactly the same. So I think just it's quite generic stuff, right? Everyone's using ChatGPT to do the exact same, exact same data. So it does feel like that, but I think there's a difference between using AI in a generic way, where you're just like plugging, a recruitment spec into ChatGPT and getting it spat out, to creating an agent, in my opinion, that you put a lot of time and effort into and make quite unique. Like, I feel like I tried with Zosia, at least. She's just kind of much more interesting than your normal kind of ChatGPT bot. And that's not the solution, but I think that's the beginning of something which is a bit more interesting, if that's the direction we're heading in, at least trying to make your agent, unique and kind of based on you and the kind of personality you want, and the unique data that your organization might have that would make them more valuable than just kind of using it in a kind of fairly mundane and generic way.
Yeah, I think there's 100% that element. I guess with all technology, you're always going to get out what you put into it. And I think there's going to be a lot of people using this badly. And it's going to make it easier in some ways, make it easier for you to stand above and stand out by just putting a bit of time into it and a bit of effort into it, rather than trying to do everything.
Yes, well, you see that on LinkedIn, right? Anyone can go on there and you can kind of spot if you use AI. Oh, they've used Claude for that. Oh, they've used ChatGPT for that.
Yeah.
And my favorite recent one, which is one of my many stories of just how bizarre and different AI is. Did you hear about the goblins kind of getting into ChatGPT? Have you heard about this? So it's quite a strange story, but for one of the kind of personalities you can set with ChatGPT, one was like a nerdy personality. It's like a setting you can try, and it will like interact with you in a kind of nerdy way. Yeah. One of the instructions they had in that they've used for a couple of years mentions use like kind of fantasy creatures and things like that. It's just kind of like nerdy terminology.
Yeah.
And since multiple different models of ChatGPT have been trained on that content and everything that's come out of it, even the normal version of ChatGPT is always now using like goblin-based lexicon. Like, there's weird analogies in like business reports and like scientific reports. Like, look it up; it's everywhere. And I started spotting that on LinkedIn. And I was like, oh, this is like such a sign that you're kind of using ChatGPT without good instructions.
That's so weird.
It's so strange. That just shows you, like, and same with Zosia, like, because I gave her, I guess the AI would just take your instructions like quite literally. Like, if it's like a context and pattern matching tool, it's not deterministic. Like, if there's goblin language, like, it will flow into everything it does. And it kind of makes decisions based on all of that. And I saw that with Zosia a bit as well, where I kind of gave her some like broad instructions and she took it in quite strange directions sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously like AI is always learning from what's already there in a way, do you know? So it's always, it's fundraising assumptions. A lot of them are based on our fundraising assumptions and our, the given them. So I'm excited to see what it does when it moves beyond that. But maybe that is the saving grace for humans, and why we'll always have a role is because we've always got that spark of creativity that doesn't exist yet. Maybe I'm being optimistic.
No, I'm with you. I think I'm a believer, like, businesses are making decisions to replace people and get rid of workers because of AI. but it does annoy me because I think all those examples out there are CEOs making decisions for the bottom line of their company, not because the AI can do the exact same job as that human they're replacing can. I think the best uses of AI and the ones we're seeing with clients is where it's like an expert human or using AI tools really well. Like that's by far the most powerful space. And as you say, a company being run or a charity being run on generic ChatGPT or Claude, there's nothing interesting or unique about that. No one wants that. It's kind of the expertise is almost more important in a way because it's unique and something that the AI hasn't got in its training data and hasn't learned. So that stays kind of human. So I think whilst roles will change, I think it's that expertise plus AI tools that really work. Like Zosia by herself wouldn't have been capable of doing that. There still needed to be a bit of me there to kind of guide and support and make decisions when they were needed.
But I mean, it's clearly here to stay, and there's a lot of opportunity in there if we put the time into it. So I'm really grateful for you coming on and sharing a bit about it. Where can people see or meet Zosia? Is it still live? Is it still active now? Are you keeping it active forever?
Yes, if you go to meetzosia.com, you can see a bit more about the project. That website's still live, so that was the kind of live Just Giving feed there. You can talk to Zosia there. There's a kind of talk to Zosia. You can play scissors paper rock against her, which she's kind of rigged, but she can give you more information there. I will say as well, the Zosia you talk to on the website is a clone of the Zosia that I talk to, and that is something I recommend everyone does for security reasons, just because the Zosia I talked to is plugged into quite a few tools. So we didn't want anyone on the website kind of prompting her to email someone or whatever. But it is a kind of exact identical clone, so you can talk to her there. She has a kind of X account as well, which is at Zosia for Dogs. You can check out the kind of live tweeting she did, and you can email her as well. I think she still might be checking her emails. I'll have to see, which is zosia@meetzosia.com, and it's Zosia.
Amazing. And we'll drop the links in the description there. And I mean, by the sounds of it, she's going to stay alive until maybe your wife gets her hands on her. I think it could be the end of it. And you are still fundraising for Dogs for Good. Did you say you're on the board of Dogs for Good?
Yes, I'm a trustee for Dogs for Good. They're based in Banbury near me. And yes, fundraising for them. They're an amazing national charity and kind of do assistant dogs for people with dementia, autism, loneliness, everything. And they're a really cool charity.
Lovely, thank you. Yeah, well, we'll drop a link in for there as well if anyone wants to support them. And Ben, we find you on LinkedIn and all the usual platforms. It'll be you, human, giving updates, letting us know your thoughts. No AI on your posts. Am I right in saying that?
AI assisted, like any good LinkedIn post, but you won't find any goblins kind of creeping into my LinkedIn posts.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, that's it. Thank you so much, Ben. It's been so lovely to chat to you. I really appreciate your time today. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next. But just be careful, please.
Thanks, Simon. See you later.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. My name is Simon Scriver. It's been a pleasure to be here back with you again. Don't forget, we've got our Supporter Experience Conference coming up at the end of May, where we'll be talking about AI and all things Supporter Experience. And I'm sure AI is going to come up in all of our conferences. You can find everything coming up at fundraisingeverywhere.com. That's it from me. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Goodbye. That's it. We're done.
Outro music.
Easy. Yeah, thank you. That was fascinating. Really interesting.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fundraising Everywhere podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, why not share it with a fundraising friend? And if you would like to give us a little like or subscribe, it really helps more fundraisers like you find us. Thank you so much. See you next time.